my main goal now is to interface humanity using the brain and the devices. So just forget about keyboard and anything. But I want to give new interface of humanity where they can control about anything. My thing of learning is you have to start tinkering instead of learning by Udemy or something. You have to start tinkering. Then is how the curiosity comes. So how do I solve this? How do I solve this?
Thank you for joining the Change I Am Possible, which is India's first Future Tech Meets Sustainability podcast. And today I'm delighted and honored to have with me Mr. Rakesh Shakati, who has worked as a brain-computer interface research scientist in Acheron Group and is currently the founder of Skybrain. He's also been invested in stunt biking. So it's a surprising move from stunt biking to brain-computer interface. So welcome to the show, Rakesh. Really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. So for the people who don't know about you, would you like to, give a brief introduction on who you are and what you've been doing?
So hi, I'm Rakesh. I'm based out of Bangalore. So I completed my engineering in electronics communication back in 2016 here in Reva, Bangalore. So then later I was trying to find anything to do anything meaningful in life. So I could not join any tech company. So I was just thinking what I could do with my life. So then later I was actually doing stunting all along. So I was actually working with TVS. So I was one of the official stunter of the TVS team. So later then on I actually went and worked on cancer care. So I was working in a Hubble Cancer Care as a support group. So later then I found out how people are suffering and how the world, how it's not up to what we can do to help people. So then later I thought how I can use my engineering skills, what I learned in college, and how we can solve the problems. So then as I was seeing many cancer patients, most of them were bedridden and they were not able to communicate all these things. Because I used to see patients, they were in very bad condition in the last level and these things. So and my dad was also bedridden for 1 year. So then later I thought how can I implement the technology? So I was just thinking about this. So then just I wake up early in the morning. So I was just browsing on YouTube in 4 o'clock in the morning. So then I actually stumbled upon Neuralink's live launch of Elon Musk. So then I thought, oh yeah, so there is something technology called neurotechnology, which I can use to help solve the problem. So that is when I hooked on to neurotech. So then that is how I started learning to code and everything. So it's been a 2.5 year journey. So I've been doing everything. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build an interface for humans where we can connect and control things. The technology is so advanced, but we still stick to keyboards and laptops and keyboards and mouse. So how we can change this? How we can interface the human mind to the devices? So that's why I'm actually trying to work on the Skybrain.
You said that that there is so much suffering in the world. Technology could play a major role in touching the lives of the common man and creating transformation across industries, plus also taking the pain away, because there is so much pain and suffering, and biotech to artificial intelligence to brain computer interface. These technologies are growing so rapidly and they've got potential to take the pain away. Normally a pharma company, when they're trying to build a vaccine, the normal process always has been 4 or 5 years or more. But when the pandemic happened, we managed to create a vaccine in a couple of months. And the only reason they did that was because some of the top global minds came together, collaboration. And technology played a huge role, and so that's the reason we have a vaccine. You are saying you want to solve the healthcare problem through technology, and you mentioned leveraging brain-computer interface. For the people who don't know what brain-computer interface is or what it could do, could you start by explaining what it is?
So brain-computer system where you can control any device or any system using your brain thoughts. So essentially what you're bridging your brain to the computer. So that is called brain-computer interface. So with your thought, you can just do anything. You can open up your computer, you can do tasks, and you can do. So this is how we define brain-computer interface.
Right. And what is the process? How do you do that? Because the brain, it's one of the most complicated biological, if I may call it a device. There are a lot of neuroscientists who call this nothing but a interface, a computing interface of sort, because we've got around 70 billion neurons, some 100 trillion synapses, and the way they fire and wire creates all of our perceptions or sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. How do you capture the brain data and how do you interface it with a computer? Could you just simplify this?
So as you tell, yes, our CPU is the brain itself. So everything what happens to has to go through the brain. So suppose somebody is in coma. So what happens is the brain is essentially shut down, but every part is running. So the main part of that is the brain. So as you see in neuroscience, it has grown and it has been growing. So the thing is, we are understanding brain as we know it. So right now, there are many technologies which we can use to measure the brain activity. So what I'm using right now is something called electroencephalography. So that is nothing but we are measuring the voltage spikes happening at the scalp area. So I'm doing something called non-invasive. I'm not working like Neuralink, who is going invasive in the brain. So I'm working on the brain so that we can actually help people and even people who are interested in science fiction. So like controlling home. So I want to do that. So we pick up the scalp voltages from the electrode location. So suppose it can be different locations in the head. It can be occipital region, it can be motor cortex area, it can be frontal area. So we pick up the voltage and then we do the signal processing. So we calculate, we transfer it to the frequency domain. Then we do all the calculations and then we understand what the brain is happening, and then we put the raw data or any process data to the machine learning, and we can actually find the intent. So this is how BCI EEG works.
Would you like to break this up a little bit, because you already defined it as invasive and non-invasive? What do you mean by non-invasive? What are the technologies used for non-invasive and for an invasive?
Okay, invasive is something you open the skull and you put inside the brain. So what you are doing is measuring the neuronal activity. So you're measuring the neuronal activity, what's happening at the neuron level. So with the non-invasive, we are just measuring on the skull. So what happens is you just have to wear something headset like this. So this is something called a Muse. We can just wear it on the skull. So we can just understand what's happening in the frontal area of the brain.
What all kind of data does a simple device like this can pick up from a complicated 70 billion neurons and 80 trillion synapses?
So whatever you think or whatever you do, so there is a neuronal activity happening in the brain. So what you try to do is we try to understand through EEG, through the eyes of EEG. So what we are doing is we're measuring nothing but electrical voltage spikes. So we're measuring the spikes and then we try to understand. It is nothing but we're trying to do this, but it's not the right way to do. It's not the only way, but that is how we have been able to control BCI. So there are people who are doing MEG also. So they're using MEG to control fMRI, FNIS to control BCI. But with EEG, it's very affordable and anyone can do that. So that is why I choose. So the device is nothing but an ADC. So it's analog to digital converter. It just measures the voltage spikes happening. And the thing is, you have to have a best ADC which has the best. So it has to provide the true sampling. So it has to provide the true voltages. When you have the true voltages, you can understand brain the real time. So that is the only thing about these devices.
You're saying in some ways, our brain is a mini computer of sorts, because there's all of these processing which is going on, and the thing driving the processing is basically electric currents, these neuronal spikes.
Yes.
And with the EEG devices, you taking those information and interpreting it or interfacing it with the computer. Now, would you like to, talk about the hype which is going on this point in time? Because, everybody keeps on talking about Neuralink and besides Neuralink, there are others, like Kernel and Control Labs from Facebook and so many others who are working on brain-computer interface. I had the privilege of interviewing DARPA's N3 program, Battelle, I believe, who are leveraging magnetoelectric nanotransducer, and Park, Xerox Park, who are building brain-computer interface. What will the world look like? What will the changes be in healthcare and other sectors? How will this brain-computer interface change our life?
About the hype thing, so it has been, they're doing in research, it's still in research stage. So if I talk about Neuralink, so they are measuring something they're measuring the neuron level. So they're measuring the truest voltage. So with what I'm measuring with the scalp voltages, so the signals actually gets weakened when it passes through the brain. It has to pass through the skull. So you have something attenuated signal. So then you have to try to amplify. So what Neuralink is trying to do is they're getting the true voltage. But the other thing we have to ask the question is, there are different parts of the brain. So suppose you're imagining something, there will be a different part of brain which is activating. And if you are doing any active task, there is a different task, different activating part. So if they're targeting only one part of the lobe of the brain, how can they actually able to solve and understand what I'm trying to do? So we can use it medically. We can use for disabled people who can run the wheelchair. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to understand what our brain thinks. So I'm trying to map to the computer. So it can be any machine learning, it can be anything. So Neuralink is trying to solve the healthcare, and many people are trying to do healthcare, but it takes a lot of time. And this is why I chose non-healthcare actually here.
So, Rakesh, I am excited for the space because I think brain-computer interface is in a very nascent stage. If you were to equate it to the first lines of like the phones that we came up like 30 years back, that's where it is. It took 20-30 years for the phones to become smart and become ubiquitous, but that was a very linear phase of growth. That time was different. Now we are in an exponential growth chart. And people do not understand that. So I believe that yes, it's in a very nascent stage, and we are trying to understand the language of the brain, like how we have A, B, C, D. That's the language, or the maths. We know that's maths and how it works. And if and when we understand the language of the brain, how the brain completely functions, I don't think we'll need any other technology, because once we get that, every other technology would not be able to stand up to a brain-computer interface, because once we get brain-computer interface, we get everything that we want, right from artificial general intelligence to anything and everything, because we will be maybe characters like the ones shown in Matrix. Everything will be an upload and download. We could just download years of information and learning in a matter of minutes or seconds, depending upon the speed we have at that point of time. So it's a very exciting space, and the kind of changes that it can bring to healthcare and other industry sectors is almost unimaginable right now, because we can't even imagine once we understand our entire brain what it could do, where we create a language and build an interface between a computer, that the world will look completely different. I was watching a video of yours which you did 2 years back. You were tinkering around with a Raspberry Pi and you created a mind controlled vehicle of sorts, and I think Nissan's been working on this for quite some time. Nissan's, I think, been one of the first companies who's been working on a mind controlled vehicle. Would you like to talk about your works, what you've been doing? You said not healthcare. What have you been doing?
So again, I would love to talk about hype, talking about Matrix. So you can understand that there have been a lot of imagination. So you can bring that to real world. So it would take a lot of, I think, a century or 50 years or something to really understand the brain, because it's very complex. It's very, very complex. We can't understand. So what we're trying to do, they're just trying to understand what our intent. So we are trying, it may be move a car, it can be open a window screen, it can be turn on light. So we are trying to understand our intent. So it would be really tough to understand the brain from thing. And it would be really tough to do something called uploading and downloading. It would be really easy if you know how the brain works. So once you understand the brain, it's very easy. And as you tell, so all the technology, so I have been able to understand AI, computer vision, and everything in the market just because I was working on BCI. Because you can apply any technology to BCI. You can apply the technology to VR, you can apply it to AR, it can be machine learning, it can be cloud technology. So you can use the technology. So what is happening here right now is BCI is just a standalone. So every other industry is helping it grow. So suppose they invent something IC which can actually do 1024 channel. So Neuralink is actually having 1024 channel something. So with just a small thing. So what I'm trying to do, we are just measuring from 8 channels. So that is 8 locations of the brain. So if you invent an IC, so what's happening is any invention in any part of the field will actually directly influence the BCI. So this is a very fun part of what I'm actually doing.
It's such an exciting space, and like I mentioned, the technology is growing in an exponential space. There are these neuroscientists and neurocomputational scientists who are together working, and there's one field who trying to understand the human brain, and the second are trying to create an interface between the human brain. So yes, there's good. I feel that the growth is going to be, you said 50 years. Yes, I mean, maybe 50 years, maybe 100 years, or maybe it could also happen in 20-25 years. Who knows, because of the space where the things are being accelerated. Would you like to talk more of your works that you have built personally over the years, leveraging brain computer interface, and how do you think those things that you've built are going to create transformation?
Not many people are working in India on BCI. So like they're working on neurotech. It can be computational neuroscience, it can be health related. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do brain computer interface. So we want to involve these people. So this is how I actually started. So I actually bought this. So I did not know coding. So in my engineering, actually, I was like, I used to study only for the sake of getting my degree. So I got my degree, and it was like these
Yeah,
things.
that's such a problem. I mean, people. I mean, I'm extremely sorry for interrupting you, but the problem with the world is that we are studying just because of studying. We are doing rote learning. We are not understanding the education system is wrong. I mean, if we correct that, I think India is we've got so many driven people who can create huge transformation. You said you didn't know coding, but right now here you are coding with Python. So please continue your saying.
So this is what I bought actually. So I did not know coding. So I tried to find people who actually did simple projects. So if you try to find any open source project on internet, it is very tough. If someone want to learn something, it should be very accessible. So I just went this right off the bat. So I tried to tinker it and code, and I failed miserably. And then later, I went on bought this Emotive. So then they had a documentation. So then I thought, so why don't I start learning Python? So I started learning Python. So I then learned Python. So then I started. So okay, let me move this intent to that. So what happens is so as you can see in the boards, I just put my ideas on the board and on the paper, and I try to understand. So that is how I actually learn machine learning or anything. So I just try to do my understanding how I can do this. So I just understand the technologies like that. So I just went it off and then started learning Python, and then I went back to this and started the coding in Arduino or something. And then the life changer for me was this. So this is something called OpenBCI. So this is one of the very best hardware for some students to learn on. So they have a very good 8-channel device. So from this, I was able to understand about brain-computer interface. So I was able to understand about the electronics part, about how the signal processing happens, how we do the end part. So this is how I actually learned. So the task is like, I put my idea like, so I want to move a car today. So I put my task like, how can I do this? I just write my things and I just start learning. I just Google, understand, learn, and just do these things.
Everything starts with curiosity. If your curiosity bug is ticked, then you will automatically learn. And we have to be lifelong learners. And that's the only thing that will guarantee you success and great life, because the world is changing. Anybody who's rigid, I mean, it's going to be bad news for them. You mentioned something about OpenBCI, community, lack of awareness. Yes, I do understand India. I mean, there is lack of awareness with technologies like this, and there is no ecosystem support. Investor support is not there. The governmental support is not there, because this field is so new and is so in its nascent stage. In another few years, this is going to open up huge economical benefits, because once the investor community understands the potential of what a working brain computer interface can do, I'm sure there'll be a line outside your house of investors and supporters. Would you like to explain to my audience what OpenBCI is and the importance of community?
So the OpenBCI is the open source hardware and software. So they have built amazing hardware for EXG. So you can do EMG, ECG, or EEG. So from that, what so people can benefit is biomedical students. It can be anyone. It can be just about anyone. So they can understand. They can just measure the voltage happening in the brain, in the muscle area. It can be on the heart area. So you can understand anything. So the very good thing about them is they have open sourced everything, so they have a very good community of the software. They are doing very good things. So what happens is you can do everything, you can learn everything from scratch. It's not like you have to buy something proprietary hardware, you don't have to work with that, so you can't understand what's really happening. So the thing is, as you see, the most of the company actually working on making the headset. So there are not many people who are working on the end part. So how you can use the technology to leverage the technology right now, what's present. So right now, what I'm working on is I'm trying to leverage the technology to control smart homes. So that is what I'm actually trying to work on. And about India, there is some guys called Open Upside Down Labs. So this is a hardware. You can just measure a single channel EEG just with this. So you can just take your brain activity and measure it. So you can just connect to an Arduino Nano and you can just start measuring your EEG. So they are open sourcing hardware and not many people know about them. So actually I've been trying to make some content so people will know, because I have been doing this and people actually approach me like, how can I do this? How can I start with BCI? So I tell them to buy OpenBCI and these things. So as you can see, they cost $1,000 and again 48% customs in India. But new people cannot learn this. So we need something affordable. These cost something around 2,000, 4,000. So someone can buy this and right off the bat start learning things. So my thing of learning is you have to start tinkering instead of learning by Udemy or something. You have to start tinkering. Then is how the curiosity comes. So how do I solve this? How do I solve this?
I guess it starts with getting your hands dirty and being curious about it and trying to having a vision of what you actually want to do and what problem you want to solve by tinkering with this. And yes, we will get into what you said, how you building something to, for smart home. We'll get into that, but talking a little bit more about the OpenBCI, you said their chip, which is an 8-channel chip to measure your brain activity. What does it do? What can it do, and what have you built using it? Because you say that it's the best product that you have bought at this point in time. What are the capabilities of it as of now?
So the 8-channel being, you can measure 8 biological signals at a time. It can be ECG. So let me just talk about, so we are talking about BCI, let me talk about just EEG. So we can measure 8 different parts of brain. So if you just Google something called 1020 location, you can understand there's a standard where you can measure the the raw signals from the brain. So you can actually configure to place wherever the electrode where you want your wish. So then the OpenBCI does all the processing and they have an open source software. It does all the processing. You can just view the raw data, you can view the FFT, the good part is right off the software, they give the frequency bands, that is alpha, beta, gamma, theta. So you can understand, so if the person is relaxing, so what happens is his brain is actually more in the alpha state. So you can see the brain is more of alpha dominant. So when the person is doing active thinking, so then you can understand the person is beta dominant. So you can just try to understand with this tool, you can understand, you can get the raw data. So with this, you can do a lot of things. So then, like if you want to do BCI, all you have to do is you have to learn machine learning. So you get the raw data, you map it to an intent, then do something. So with OpenBCI, you can do a lot of things actually. So this is the hardware. So this is how we measure the 8 pin. So you actually have got the 3D printed headset, but you can connect like almost any easy headset, like commercial headset, who have touch-proof connectors. So they OpenBCI guys provide. So you can just use your own electrodes. You can customize anything. So they're giving the hardware. So what happens is you can change the electrodes. So it can be passive or electric. So passive, what happens is it just takes the signal from the brain. With active, it's an active amplification. So the thing is, there won't be a loss of signal traveling through the wires to the amplifier. So that's the new fun part of the OpenBCI. You can customize about anything, just about anything. And they do have a chip, something called ADS1299. It's built by Texas, and it is made for biological signals. It was made for, like if you see many commercial EEG devices, what we used to get, so those were built on differential amplifier, operational amplifier. So this was actually built for that action.
What have you done tinkering around with it?
My first project for BCI was moving a car. So I was like, if I used to set a threshold, I used to train like, if a person like thinks something, so it will be like active concentration. So if we can measure the threshold of someone active thinking, so we can set a threshold, and if person thinks about that threshold, so this will move. So this was a very basic thing what I did for a single movement. So then later I went on doing like, I took the raw data and I did machine learning, where I was able to feed the machine learning model to understand what I was thinking. So I was able to understand, do like left, right, takeoff and landing. So I was able to do tele drone control. So I was able to control like, I just have to think lift. So it was to take off, and left, right, right. So you can actually do this to automotive. So my idea is until we cannot know and understand what brain how works, we can actually not understand the BCI how the real will work in the working conditions. So what I'm thinking is, I'm not thinking of controlling a car like going front right. And recently I saw Mercedes, they're working on something. So they did actually show in a demo, like they use some hardware to control everything in the car. Like it can be window, it can be wipers, it can be seats. So I just recently saw XUV 700. So my next project will be controlling a Mahindra XUV using the mind. Like we can control seats and anything, just about anything. So within like few months, I'll be doing that. So that's my actually personal project that's off a side. So I'll be doing that.
Wish you the very best for it, Rakesh, and I hope that you are successful. Yes, I have been invested in virtual reality since 2015. There's this saying that people who get into it early hold the first mover's advantage, but then the opposite side is also true, where the ones who get into it too early, I mean, bear the brunt of the market, because the market is not sustainable. There's no support, so I lost a whole lot of money being so early into this ecosystem. But then there is knowledge that I've gained, which I think is immeasurable, because that is what has made me who I am and whatever I'm going to do. And I hope the same will stand true for you, because brain computer interface is great technology. There was this company called Neurable back in, I think, 2016-17. It's a virtual reality company. So they had created a headset in each device, and they had built a game. The game via the thoughts. But that was 2018. But now is 2021. So what has been the advancement, and how does one go about it? Is it complicated if you create this, maybe like a brain controlled a car or a drone? How easy or difficult would the knowledge transfer be for a person who's using it for the first time? Would it be very difficult to control it just by how does it work? Could you just break it down and explain this to my audience, please?
So I'll do that. So let's talk about Neurable first. So actually, they are actually in the market still. So they just launched some. So they were actually working on connecting the virtual reality and these things. So they had some interface. So they actually work with HTC Vive. So right now I am working on the same aspect. So this is something called motor imaging. So what happens is, a person has to undergo a training session. So the training session can last just 20 seconds. So it can be just 20 to 40 seconds max for one action. So suppose as user will wear headset and the calibration will happen. So the software will tell. So you can think any action. So you can just select action. It will be like lift off. So you can just take the lift off, and you can just close your eyes, open your eyes, and just start thinking an action. So what's happening is, here the system is not understanding what you are trying to think. So it's just trying to map the what's happening in the brain. So you are thinking a unique thing. It can be like lift off, lift off, lift off. It can be imagination thing. So what you're doing some imagination. So once you do imagination, from neuroscience, we can understand the occipital region of the brain actually lights up. So the occipital region of the brain is here, okay? So you can actually take the electrodes and measure the electrodes, what's happening. So from then, we actually put it to machine learning and then understand. So the thing was, people actually were using traditional machine learning, they were using SDA, SVM, so LDA, SVM and these things. So right now we have deep learning systems which can really understand. So earlier systems were like, you have to provide the data which actually processed. So you cannot actually provide the raw data, you have to process. So the machine learning accuracy depends upon how good you process the data. So the lot of research has to go. But with the deep learning, what's happening is, you don't have to process the data. You can just put in the raw data. It will understand what's good and what's garbage. So right now what I'm trying to solve is I'm trying to do like the system has to pick up my real thinking. It should be like the machine learning accuracy is like it will be 95 accuracy and 5% this thing. But in real life condition, when you have that accuracy, you can actually really drive a car with that accuracy. Once you only have 100% accuracy, you can do that. So right now I'm trying to solve how we can use deep learning to solve this condition actually. So I have not find many people doing this actually. So I was trying to do, so I thought why not open my own company and get people and start building a team and to do this and solve this actually.
Language of the brain, if we understand it, the doors will open up, doors to things that will be just I'm sure it's unfathomable at this point in time.
As I told you, it's like you're stuck with the keyboard and mouse and the phone. Like it'll be like phone touching. It'll be like you just sit in your home and think of turning on a light. It'll be on. Just turn on this thing. And the main thing is, again, the headset are bulky. We have to wear a headset. So what I'm trying to do is, once you integrate these EEG electrodes into everyday life, it can be earphones, it can be like headband, it can be on the earphones. You can integrate it to real life, so people won't know that they are wearing something. So it will be like integrated into everyday life. So that is how actually smart phones actually boomed. So it actually integrated with real life and everyday activity. So people are now extremely dependent on that.
Very true. So I think, we complicate the common man with names such as augmented reality, virtual reality, brain computer interface. And so they get too overwhelmed by it. They don't even need to know what it is. It's just that if there is an utility without them knowing it, that's where when we get to.
And that's true.
Yeah,
that's true, because we as a tech enthusiast understand everything about virtual reality, extended reality, but the end user, what he wants a headset where he gets the best quality, so he can understand the technology. It's like, give me the technology. So we have to do what people actually need. So we have to understand that actually. Instead of, so it's like you don't have to invent which people don't need. We have to invent something people need. So that is how we actually go forward with the world.
You said that you are building something for smart home. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
So like I want to integrate BCI. So my thing is I'm working on smart home, our own hardware and software. So where we control with the mind. So it's like I'm building the smartest home in the world. So if you just connect the mind to the smart home, it will be like it is the smartest home. So I was able to actually recently won a hackathon. So I was actually able to get this idea in just 2 days. So I was able to code. So then I understand how we can do this. So fortunately, I found an investor backing me, and he's very, very passionate, and he's actually very interested. He has been following me since 1 year. So like I want to start. So this is my entry into the tech world. So like I did not know much thing about tech. So this is how I learned. So once I do this, will be one of our first startup. So later, this is not just the end. So I'll be doing many things. You can do a lot of things. Healthcare, you can transform healthcare, real world. So I'm just starting with smart home. So once you understand how we can survive in this field and do these things really. So until now I was just doing hobbyist level. So I was just trying to play with this. So now the real fun starts, the real work starts.
Lovely.
So yeah.
Lovely. Wish you the very best. And I hope that maybe we can collaborate someday, because when I got into virtual reality, I wanted to build virtual worlds which are indistinguishable from the physical world. And
I had seen few projects like that. Like I had seen virtual estates being sold on similar to the world.
Yeah, no. So that's a different thing. Those are virtual worlds, and then there are people who are building metaverse where they are creating digital worlds. They are also digitizing physical objects, sensorizing physical objects, so that we can take information from there that and create better businesses solutions. So yes, we're creating metaverse. Then there's we're creating an economic layer in the metaverse with NFTs and things like that. So the digital world, the physical world is going to be digitized. What I'm trying to say is that I want to create virtual reality like this, like a physical world. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, where we are unable to distinguish between what is physical and what is virtual, and that can happen with brain-computer interface, nanotechnology, I think, and artificial intelligence. Once that kind of merges in, we'll be able to create the world of, the Steven Spielberg movie, what he had, Ready Player One, or I mean, if you want to go to a dystopian side, the Black Mirror, where you are unable to.
My main motivation is the science fiction movies and TV series. My main motivation. So that's how I actually get into this thing. That's wonderful thing what you're trying to do. So with the going and pandemic conditions, so we need that actually. So until then, we did not know like how we did not have the need, but right now we need that actually virtual thing where we can connect and do. It's very indistinguishable. Instead of going visiting a place, you can just meet. So that's what, right.
So that is anyway happening with virtual reality right now. There are people who have created virtual reality offices. You can have events in virtual reality. There are schools in what we've built in virtual reality, and this is right now. It's not even something which is futuristic. So there are companies who are laying the building blocks of a metaverse. Where you'll be building 1-to-1 scale of the entire physical world. There is Nvidia, which is building Omniverse. Omniverse is going to be a 1-to-1 map of the entire physical world, the entire Earth. Yeah. So those things are So those things are already happening right now. And yes, so I mean, yes, what that is going to do is it's going to make geography history, because you rightfully pointed out. I mean, we waste our time. Our work demands us to move from home to office and office to back, and that normally takes up any time between half an hour to 1 hour to 3 hours, depending upon which area where you are, and then that 2 hours where you're confined in a car or in train or bus, it's completely unproductive, and with virtual reality, all you need to do is just don the headset, though it's very clunky and bulky, and it's still not to the point of this. But I think in another 10 years or so, or under that, we will have glasses like this, exactly like this, which will map inside outside. What I mean by that is it'll be able to create a data of where we are looking at, and things like that. Now, since I'm talking about that gets a little scary, and there are the pros of this technology, that all of technologies, I mean, artificial intelligence or augmented reality, virtual reality, brain computer interface. Now the cons are that when and if we create a working brain computer interface, where we create the language of the brain, what is it saying, and map it onto a computer, what will the world look like? There'll be pros, we'll have great technology, but the cons is that, I mean, I'll be able to peek into your brain, you'll be able to peek into my brain. We talk about hive mind and all that, which is very beneficial, but what will happen to our personal privacy? What will happen to surveillance? Do you think about that where how good or bad the world will look like when we have a brain computer interface?
You cannot actually understand what's happening in the part of their brain, everything. So with Neuralink, it may be possible, but I am no expert on the invasive thing. So because they are measuring the neuronal activity. So the thing is, with wearable, what I'm doing, you can actually know what's happening. So as I'm telling you, we can just actually map the intent. So we can actually measure the mood of a person. So actually the scary thing, I've started seeing things where company wants the easy data. So it can be brain data where people watch the ad. So it may be good. Okay. It may be good to build the brand. I actually love it. But what happens is using this technology without anyone noticing. So that would be scary. So the companies are caring about building the brand. So they actually get the data. So once you get the consent of the person, so it'll be a good thing. So you can measure the emotions, like you can show a picture and we can understand like if the person is feeling good, happy. So they can use for marketing. There's something called neuromarketing. So they can use this. So this is what's happening. But with this, we cannot actually know what's happening, and we can actually tap into this thing. It's very, very, very tough. It's not possible.
Two things you mentioned up. I mean, obviously that where this technology could go. I have had the privilege of having conversation with Randall Coney. He is one of the top neuroscientists. I've had the privilege of having conversation with Surf Moran recently, one of the top neuroscientists, and he's working on neuromarketing. I had the privilege of conversing with Kenneth Hayworth, again, one of the top neuroscientists. These people are working on building either mind uploading where understanding the entire human brain and uploading it onto a computer. Surf Moran has been a neuroscientist and a hacker who and has been advisors to some of the top companies, working on brain computer interface. Yes, we have around 1032 channel arrays which can read only a certain part of the brain. But like I said, I think we are in an exponential growth where Kernel has built a brain computer interface, but again, it's non-invasive. Battelle, who I mentioned, who the startups who participated in the DARPA N3 program, they have something called as magnetoelectric nanotransducer, which is a nanobot which gets injected into the brain and it goes on to and it reads your neurons. So which is a little bit ahead than what even Neuralink is doing. Now these, I believe, again is in a very nascent stage. What can happen in a 30 to 50 years time, or 60 years time, or 100 years time, or maybe less? I mean, I would not be wrong to speculate that yes, we will be creating the entire language of the brain, where we will know the maths or how the brain functions. When and how will it happen, I don't really know, but it will surely happen. Like how or DNA code, there was maybe in 2003 we were trying to understand the source code of a human life, the DNA, what it does, and we were trying to map the human code, and now we have the entire human DNA code. In 10-13 years we managed to do it, and people thought that it would take 100 years. So yes, I do believe that we are going to understand the entire human brain, and it's no conspiracy theory. And once we do that, we are getting into the Matrix world or the Black Mirror world. You spoke about data. Yes, I think that is something which is very a conversation that we need to have, because data is the new oil, and who controls the data will be controlling the world. My last question to you, students or enthusiasts who want to learn and understand brain computer interface and wants to take this as a career opportunity, where does he start from? What is the learnings? What are the expertise required?
So about the career, it's very tough to find anything because not many people are working in the BCA aspect. So suppose if you want to work, so there are companies which are in the outside of India, but if you want to work there, you have to have a prior experience on something. But if you're expert on something, I think you would have already been introduced to EG some or the other way. But it would be really tough for someone to go through this. So my thing is, there's something called Neurotech. It's a community which teaches about neurotech. So you can go there and you can understand and learn everything. So it covers about programming. It can be about Arduino programming. It can be about how we can use devices. So they have code and everything, demos and everything ready. So they have chapters and they have books where we can study. So these things. So one can start over there. So I think we'll have to wait a few years so that, as you told, investors have to start thinking about how this will be a huge boom in the coming years, because you don't have to have advertise about neurotech, because if Elon Musk does something great in neurotech, so that will actually affect the industry, the remaining industry. So the once investors come and start opening companies, so we need more people who get into the technology. So once people try to understand this technology and we have experts, so this is how they can start actually.
And where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? I mean, do talk about that. And where do you see brain-computer interface in the next 10 years? How do you think is going to impact us? I mean, maybe you could also, while you are at it, what you're going to be in 10 years, you could talk about like how maybe it could help us, in healthcare or other sectors, how it could create real-world value.
Just in 2015, so I was working in TVS company. I was the top stunter. I was the guy who gave the ad for Apache 200. So what you saw on the TV poster, that was me. So I just put my goal. So I thought just yes, I want to be a stunter. So I want to give the community something. So I want to teach people. So I was able to get that. So I did not have any goal. I did not see myself seeing the future. My main goal now is to interface humanity using the brain and the devices. So just forget about keyboard and anything. You can just use your normal, you can switch and phone and switches everything. But I want to give an interface, new interface to humanity, where they can control about anything. So it's not like we have to buy a headset where it's $2,000, $3,000, it's $100,000. It's be like it should come as cheap as 10,000, 20,000. And the drawback is when you go low price, the data efficiency and the classification will be very much lower. But I want to change that so that it should be affordable for everyone. So right now, the smartphone was affordable only for few set of people. Right now, you can see about almost anyone in India,
Exactly.
roadside vendors are having the phone. So it's actually helping everything boom, right? So that is why what I want to do. I want to provide affordable working technology, not just a hype where we just tell we'll do this. I just want to provide technology.
Right.
So
Perfect.
Right. And about the brain computer interface technology in 10 years, I really have no idea because there is a lot of advancement and I really don't know. And because you told me about virtual reality, I've been deep in BCI. I don't really know about other industry, but we can't actually know because there is very much exponential growth, and due to pandemic, everyone can work from their own comfort, and there has been a lot of improvement. And the people, I think they are creative. When people start creative, and when they get much attention, like I got my investors, so people need someone who can support them. Because for the 2 years, I did not know anything. I did not know how to code. I did not know I have the headset. How can I move a car? So it's like I had to learn everything. So we need someone who would back them up. My parents were actually very fortunate and they actually supported me. It's not like they were not like you did engineering, you have to do this job. So they supported me like you're doing something you do. So that's actually where I won actually. So we need more people to support this technology. So that is how we'll be able to bring a lot of transformation in a really quick time.
Lovely. Yeah. Thank you, Rakesh. Really appreciate you taking time being part of the podcast. And yes, I do understand that we need support. And I guess that's the only way we can grow. Our country, we've got so much talent. And if we have the right support, the right investor, the government support, I mean, people like you who are like building really cool stuff can accelerate transformation and bring products and services and solutions that can create real world benefits. You mentioned that, you didn't have any education when it came to coding, but you had a desire and intent. And so my last thoughts to my listeners is that, there is the only thing that stops a person is your desire and your intent. The internet is full of learnings, in the forms of MOOCs, massive open online courses. There's podcasts, there's webinars, and those besides the traditional education that you have, there is so much, So go out there, learn. There is, there is so much out there, and if you have a desire and intent, you can learn anything, you can do anything. And Rakesh Jakati is an example of that. So wish you the very best. I hope that we can create something together. And I hope that you get investor support. And I don't hope, I'm sure that you will get, because in the next few years, if you're resilient, you will. I wish you the very best for it. And to my listeners, if you like what you see and hear, then please press the subscribe button. And until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.